number of new jobs in the economy surges. Telstra announces a big drop in earnings, and the federal government will guarantee holders of flights on Rex Airlines. Welcome to Fear and Greed Daily Business News for people who make their own decisions. It's Friday, the 16th of August 2024. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, the main story this morning, the number of new jobs in the economy soared by 58,000 last month. But it wasn't enough to prevent the unemployment rate from rising to 4.2%.
The Australian Bureau of Statistics labour force figures had something for everyone, many more jobs than expected and a higher unemployment rate, reflecting a record number of people looking for a job last month. The increase in unemployment from 4.1% to 4.2% pushes the rate to its highest level since November 2021. An influx of migrant workers helped to push the share of the working age population with a job or looking for one to a record high of 67.1%, and close to half of the people who have found work over the past year were employed in publicly funded industries like health, education, government administration. The employment growth figures were better than expected, and the overall data suits the narrative that the jobs market is cooling, but only slowly. Annual employment growth is 3.2% over the past year, which is pretty strong.
Sean, what is it? I'm just going to try and boil this down to what it means for me. What does it mean for interest rates?
Well, the numbers are a bit tricky to read because employment gains of at least 39,000 are needed each month to stop the unemployment rate rising based on current levels of immigration. But then we get yesterday's figures. It blasts through that 39,000 level, yet unemployment still rises. AMP Deputy Chief Economist Diana Messina said the dynamic is that there is a big supply of workers coming into the labour force, and they are finding work or confident that they will find work, so are entering the jobs market. So the labour market is still strong enough to absorb more workers looking for jobs. Therefore, it's not really a red flag and a sign that the Reserve Bank needs to cut interest rates anytime soon. Having said that, leading indicators of the labour market like job vacancies, job advertisements and hiring intentions are still pointing to a further slowdown in the labour market. While financial markets have priced in a better than 50% chance of a rate cut this year, the consensus among economists after yesterday's numbers is that there won't be any movement at the central bank until at least early 2025.
All right, let's have a look at local markets. How did they perform yesterday?
The S&P ASX 200 closed up 0.2% to 7,866 points. Among the large caps that weren't reporting at least, the big miners were lower on the back of weakening iron ore prices. REA and Santos also underperformed. Westpac and ANZ led the big banks higher, while Wesfarmers was another strong performer. Investment group Magellan's share price surged 8% after it increased its profit and said it had taken a stake in fund manager Vinva. Mining contractor NRW Holdings share price jumped 9%. After it said profit was up 19% last financial year. It also lifted its dividend. Shares in agribusiness Nufarm tumbled 10% after downgrading its earnings outlook due to reduced confidence that the industry environment will improve for the remainder of the year. And West Australian lithium producer Pilbara Minerals has made a $560 million play at a group called Latin Resources and its projects in South America. Pilbara's share price fell 5% on the news.
Okay, taking a look at international markets now, thanks to Blue Chip Communication, the experts helping financial services companies market, communicate and grow. Visit bluechipcommunications.com.au. And Sean, what's happening with iron ore prices?
Well, they've dropped to a 21-month low as figures show that China's steel production in July fell 9% month on month. Iron ore futures in Singapore hit a low of $93.70 US a tonne. It comes after the chairman of Baowu Steel Group warned that China's steel industry faces a crisis worse than the downturns of 2008 and 2015. Now, Baowu is the world's biggest steel maker. It actually isn't much better in the rest of the Chinese economy. Figures released yesterday show that sluggish confidence is weighing on consumption and investment, putting the government's annual growth target at risk. Bad news for Australia. In contrast, there was good news out of Japan yesterday. That's the world's third largest economy and another important trading partner of Australia, our second largest trading partner behind China. Japan's economy rebounded to growth in the second quarter on the back of an increase in private consumption. Gross domestic product expanded at an annualised pace of 3.1% in the 3 months to the end of June. That's a pretty good result.
Yeah, Not too bad. And Sean, we have a lot to get through, but I just need to mention very, very quickly how excited we are that our Mia mugs have finally arrived. These are our most enthusiastic advocate mugs, the Mia mug. It is the award that we hand out to listeners who are advocating, who are telling other people, friends, family, colleagues about
Mm.
fear and greed. We've been promising them for at least a year, isn't it?
At least. I'd say longer.
at least a year. And we've actually kind of committed to sending them out to a bunch of people in the past. So we're just gradually kind of working our way through the backlog at the moment. But we are giving them away to listeners who are the most enthusiastic advocates of fear and greed. So if you've been telling everyone about fear and greed, then let us know. Post about us. About the podcast on LinkedIn or on Instagram or Facebook and tag us. We are on the lookout for Mia's. We've got a very big shipment of Mia mugs. We've got to offload them. It is a fantastic prize because these are very much just limited edition. I would say priceless.
In some places, they might be priceless. Very rare, collectible mug, perhaps. Having said that, you did say we just got a big shipment of them in, so it sort of takes away a little bit. But, I'd say priceless.
Yeah, priceless and exclusive, Sean. Anyway, they are our Mia mugs, so please get in touch. Now, we'll be back in a moment with the rest of the day's business news. Sean, the company with the most Australian shareholders, Telstra, yesterday announced a 13% drop in its net profit to $1.79 billion after writing down hundreds of millions of dollars in its troubled enterprise business.
It also revealed $247 million in costs associated with cutting 2,800 jobs. However, the good news from the result was Telstra's booming mobile business, where last year the telco boosted earnings by 9% on the back of a whopping 560,000 new mobile customers. The good news for shareholders, though not necessarily for those customers, is that the growth came ahead of Telstra upping the prices on most of its mobile phone plans in the next few months. The enterprise business provides services to government and large businesses. Its value was written down by $311 million. It's the real sore spot within Telstra. Earnings in fixed enterprise, which includes sales of telephone handsets and other equipment, as well as consulting services, also tumbled. The company also said it was shelving plans to shift into energy retailing. Telstra said it will pay a final dividend of 9 cents, taking total dividends for the year to 18 cents a share. Its share price jumped 2.6% yesterday, meaning it's about flat for 2024.
Strong global demand for warehouse space and data centres close to cities has helped industrial property giant Goodman deliver an operating profit of just over $2 billion for the last financial year. That's up 15%.
The good news was the result, which was above expectations. The less good news was that guidance for future earnings disappointed somewhat, and Goodman's share price closed down nearly 1%. Australia's leading property group is pushing hard into data centres, which now account for about 40% of its $13 billion global project pipeline. Of all the major companies, Goodman Group is the one benefiting most from the AI and cloud computing boom. CEO Greg Goodman, who started the business a little over 30 years ago after buying one industrial site in southern Sydney, said the opportunities for the group were coming from the growth of e-commerce, cloud computing, and adoption of new technologies, including AI and machine learning. The bottom line was a loss of just under $100 million after Goodman revalued his property portfolio down by $5.1 billion. But the ongoing business is strong, with portfolio occupancy at 97.7%.
Now, I mentioned this next one at the top of the show. The federal government will guarantee regional flight bookings for Rex customers throughout the airline's voluntary administration process.
Rex collapsed into administration last month after management infighting and concerns from major lenders that its strategy to increasingly compete against Qantas and Virgin Australia on capital city services was faltering. Yesterday, Transport Minister Catherine King said customers could book on Rex and have certainty. However, the government will not take an equity position in the airline and wants a market-based solution. Staying in Canberra, Michael, laws were introduced to Parliament yesterday to cap the indexation for the Higher Education Loan Program, HELP. It was a budget announcement. It will save students thousands of dollars off their HECS debts. In fact, students with a debt of $45,000 will see a reduction of about $2,000, while students with $60,000 owing will have their debts lowered by about $2,700.
Sean, Penfolds owner Treasury Wine Estates yesterday announced a sharp fall in earnings after writing off the value of some of its cheaper wines, but increased its final dividend.
Sure did. Treasury had already announced the decision to offload a bunch of brands, including Wolf Blass, Yellow Glen and Lindemans, to concentrate on the higher end of winemaking. The group will combine its Treasury Premium Brands business with its Treasury Americas Premium Brands portfolio next year, creating a division including 19 Crimes, Matua, Squealing Pig, Wins and Pepperjack. Penfolds will remain as a separate division. About 75% of the company's overall profit comes from the Penfolds business and the luxury wine portfolio in the United States. The bottom line was a 61% drop in profit to $99 million, thanks to that $318 million impairment we mentioned at the top of this story. Treasury's share price ended 1.4% higher yesterday.
Very good time to mention the interview that's coming up after the show. A chat with Treasury Wine Estates CEO Tim Ford about yesterday's results.
Yeah, that's right. We're working with the team at Ausbiz to bring you interviews with the leaders of some of Australia's biggest companies. Yesterday, Andrew Gagan spoke to Tim Ford about Treasury selling its cheaper wines and its push into North America. It's a great chat between Tim and Andrew.
Yeah, indeed. And you can sign up at ausbiz.com.au to access Australia's leading provider of live and on-demand video. The latest news in Australian business, markets, economy and startups, and they do have some cracking interviews like this one. Now, Origin Energy's share price tumbled 9.4% yesterday, despite a 30% jump in profit after the result and the outlook for the 2025 financial year was weaker than expected.
Chief Executive Frank Calabria flagged that profits in energy markets, which includes generation, retailing and trading, would slide in the coming year, echoing a similar warning from AGL Energy on Wednesday. Origin's profit for the 2024 financial year jumped 32% to $1.4 billion on the back of much higher earnings in the energy generation and retailing businesses. The stock closed at $9.60, which is still above the $9.39 offered by Brookfield and EIG in a $20 billion takeover bid rejected late last year.
Hearing implant group Cochlear posted a 19% jump in profits for the last financial year, but the result was considered a miss, Sean, and its share price tumbled 7%.
The group said it expected cochlear implant trading conditions to remain strong, with improved growth rates in developed countries. Chief Executive Dig Howitt told The Australian that digital-savvy seniors, an expanding body of research on the benefits of hearing to cognition, underpin Cochlear's long-term growth trajectory. He said hearing loss is undertreated and there's enormous potential for the implants to change people's lives through better hearing, particularly for adults and seniors. His strategy is basically to raise awareness and have people referred, make sure the health systems have capacity and funding to meet demand. And he just believes that by natural growth or organic growth, Cochlear can succeed with more people taking advantage of their implants.
Now, turning to international news, Ukraine has launched what it described as the war's largest drone attack on Russian airfields, as Kiev's forces are facing increased resistance 9 days into their incursion into Russia.
Russia's defense ministry said Kyiv had fired 117 drones as well as missiles in the Kursk region where Ukrainian troops had seized territory and other areas of southern Russia. According to a report in the Financial Times, it wasn't immediately clear whether any Russian aircraft were damaged or destroyed, and the official said Kyiv was waiting for satellite photos to assess the destruction. Meanwhile, the rate at which Ukraine is seizing territory in the Kursk region appears to have slowed. One of the Ukraine's top generals earlier in the week said Ukrainian forces were holding 1,000 square kilometres of Russian territory. 24 hours later, he said that occupied just a further 40 square kilometres, which suggests that pace of incursion has slowed down. It's interesting, this battle, because it's fallen off the front pages, definitely, but in more recent weeks, there's been some real success for Ukraine in Russian territory, not just pushing Russia out of Ukrainian territory, but actually within Russia itself.
Finally, Sean, a bit of a change of pace for the final story here. The English Premier League kicks off this weekend after the off-season. It is considered the most widely viewed sporting league in the world. Did you know that?
Well, yeah, so I've got a little quiz for you on this one, Michael. So, I mean, it's kicking off. It's kicking off tomorrow morning, Australian time. Manchester City is looking for a record-breaking fifth consecutive title. Of course, we're all interested in Australia's Ange Postecoglou, who is hoping for more consistencies from his Tottenham Hotspur team during his second year in charge. Total of 380 matches over the season. generates about £6 billion in revenue each year. That's about 12 billion Aussie dollars, with the big six teams, Manchester City, Man United, Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea and Liverpool dominant in terms of revenue. It did make me think about some of the biggest sports in the world, and I did get a bit surprised by this. It's a test for you, Michael. So football is the biggest sport, soccer, as many people in Australia know it.
Yep.
Football. Can you give me, I want you to try and give me 5 of the next 9. So with the top 10 sports, what's 5 of the next 9? Go for it. I think it'd be interesting.
This is in terms of the number of people who participate or watch.
Yeah. And these are all a bit, these numbers are slightly grey. Different sources have different numbers, but these broadly are the top 10. So football's number 1.
Yeah, what I learned from doing pub trivia is that if you present it as coming from a definitive list, you never have to divulge where that list is. But just never let on that it's grey. Anyway, okay. I'm going to say, okay, so soccer's number 1. I'm stalling here as I think. Netball?
No, that might be in Australia. You have to think of the big countries, like, in fact,
cricket.
Cricket. Well done. India, cricket.
If I'm thinking India, hockey then as well.
Yes, field hockey, definitely.
Yes, I used to ask a pub trivia question that was about kind of the hockey strong nations.
Yes,
And India was always kind of a very prominent country there.
Yeah, definitely.
This history.
This could go forever because you're just avoiding.
I'm okay. Baseball.
Yeah, it is top 10, but not like at the bottom of it.
What about tennis?
Tennis is definitely there. Yep, tennis is. That's basically
golf?
third. Golf's number 10.
Can we pretend that I didn't nominate netball as my first answer?
No. A couple of real surprises.
Yeah, go on.
Volleyball.
Oh.
Volleyball is apparently the 5th most participated sport. Table tennis, which probably Asian nations.
Yeah, and every kind of Australian household after about kind of 11 o'clock on a Saturday night.
Yeah, that's it. Yep. You mentioned baseball, basketball, another big one. You mentioned golf, rugby's the other one that ran out the top 10.
Oh, I was going to say all of those, actually. I just ran out of time.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you the most money, because we're a business podcast.
Yeah.
The most money in a league, like EPL comes in, I think it comes in the 4th or something or other like that. But the big ones are the US leagues, baseball, American football and basketball. Not surprising. National Hockey League in the US, I think, is 5. EPL coming in at 4. Others in the ranking, Indian Premier League.
Oh, of course.
No surprises there. The F1, of course, Formula 1.
Yep.
And the AFL is ranked somewhere sort of 10 to 15 globally. There you go.
Really?
Yeah, I was surprised by this is in terms of revenue.
Oh, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
I've just had a brilliant idea.
Oh, dear.
we could travel around the country doing fear and greed trivia.
Yes.
We could come to your company, host a boardroom trivia session.
Yes, somewhere between business and stuff that you do, Michael.
Yeah. Movies.
I like it. Movies.
And you know what the prize would be, Sean? You know what the prize would be? A Mia mug.
A Mia mug. Absolutely.
A Mia mug for the top 3 teams. And you got to share the mug with your teammates.
Yes.
Kind of creepy. Anyway, it's not a bad idea. Probably not the best idea I've ever come up with. Up next is the Fear and Greed Daily interview. Treasury Wine Estates CEO Tim Ford talking about yesterday's results.
Yeah, well worth tuning in for that one. All about their push into the US, what they're doing with their cheaper brands, the plans to sell that, and of course, Penfolds.
Indeed. That is up next in the Fear and Greed playlist on your podcast platform or at fearandgreed.com.au. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It is Friday, the 16th of August, 2024. Make sure you're following the podcast and please join us online on LinkedIn, Instagram, X, TikTok and Facebook. I'm Michael Thompson and that was Fear and Greed. Have a great day.